Good morning. My name is Matt Bromberg, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer and President of Unity. We're excited to welcome you to our 2025 Annual Meeting of Stockholders. I will now hand off the call to Anura Gupta, our Senior Vice President and Chief Legal Officer, as well as Corporate Secretary and Chair of this 2025 Stockholders Meeting.
Thank you, Matt, for the introduction. 10 of our 11 board members are present today. Also present are Jared Yates, Senior Vice President and Chief Financial Officer, and Nora Go, Vice President, Corporate Legal and Assistant Corporate Secretary. I would also like to introduce Reagan Dolezal of Ernst & Young, the company's auditor, who is available to respond to appropriate questions. And with that, the meeting will now officially come to order. Nora Go and I will guide us through the formal business of the meeting as set forth in your Notice of Annual Meeting and Proxy Statement. We are very pleased to be able to use this virtual meeting format accessible to all of our stockholders, regardless of their physical location. If you are a stockholder of record as of April 15, 2025, you can listen to the meeting, submit questions, and vote your shares online prior to the closing of the polls. Within the virtual meeting platform, you will find a copy of the Rules of Conduct and Procedures for the annual meeting. To conduct an orderly meeting, we ask that you follow these rules. Nora, can you please proceed with the first matter of business and report at this time with respect to the mailing of the notice of the meeting and the stockholder list?
I have at this meeting a complete list of the stockholders of record of the company's common stock on April 15, 2025, the record date for this meeting. I also have an affidavit certifying that commencing on April 21, 2025, a notice of annual meeting of stockholders of the company was deposited in the United States mail or via email to all stockholders of record as of April 15, 2025.
At this time, I'd like to introduce Elsie Rosenthal, who has been appointed to act as the Inspector of the Election at this meeting. She has taken and subscribed to the customary oath of office to execute her duties with strict impartiality. We will file this oath with the records of the meeting. Elsie's function is to decide upon the qualifications of voters, accept their votes, and when balloting on all matters is completed, to tally the final votes.
I have been informed by the Inspector of Election that proxies have been received for 321,705,430 of the 415,515,941 shares of common stock outstanding on the record date, which represents approximately 77% of the total number of outstanding shares on the record date. This constitutes a quorum for the meeting today, and we may now carry out the official business of the meeting.
We will now proceed with the formal business of this meeting. Nora, can you please open the polls for voting and review the matters properly brought before this meeting?
The time is now 10:03 a.m. Pacific Time, and the polls are now open for voting on all matters to be presented. Stockholders attending the meeting virtually may vote their shares in real time until the polls are closed. If you have already submitted a proxy to vote your shares, you do not need to submit one again. There are 3 proposals to be considered by the stockholders at this meeting, which we will review. We will then answer any questions from stockholders on the proposals before reviewing the voting procedures. The polls will then be closed to voting.
The first item of business is the election of 4 Class II directors to serve until the 2028 Annual Meeting of Stockholders and until their successors are elected. The nominees for director are Robin Daly, Shlomo Dovrat, Egon Durbin, and Barry Schuler. The second item of business is the ratification of the selection by the Audit Committee of the Board of Directors of Ernst & Young as our independent registered public accounting firm for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2025.
The third item of business is the approval on an advisory basis of the compensation of our named executive officers as described in our proxy statement. The stockholders have been asked to vote on an advisory basis on the following resolution. Resolved that the compensation paid to the company's named executive officers as disclosed pursuant to Item 402 of Regulation S-K, including the compensation discussion and analysis, compensation tables, and narrative discussion, is hereby approved. That was the final proposal for today's meeting. We welcome questions from stockholders on the proposals at this time. Please note that our discussion today may include forward-looking statements, and our actual results may differ materially from those discussed here. Additional information concerning factors that could cause such a difference can be found in our most recently filed quarterly report on Form 10-Q. As there are no questions, I will now describe the voting procedures. Voting today is by proxy and electronic ballot. Each share of common stock is entitled to one vote. Any stockholder who has not voted or who wishes to change their vote may do so by clicking on the Vote button in the webcast portal and following the instructions provided. Stockholders who have submitted proxies or who have previously voted via the internet or by phone and who do not wish to change their vote do not need to take further action. Their votes will be counted automatically. It is now 10:06 a.m. and the polls are still open for voting. The time is now 10:06 a.m. and the polls are now closed for voting.
May we have the preliminary results of the voting?
The preliminary report of the Inspector of Election covering the proposals presented at this meeting is as follows. The proposal to elect Robin Bailey, Shlomo Dovrat, Egon Durbin, and Barry Schuler as Class II directors of the company is carried. The selection of Ernst & Young as the company's independent registered public accounting firm for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2025 is ratified. The proposal for the approval on an advisory basis of the compensation of our named executive officers has not passed. While the vote is non-binding, the board and takes stockholder feedback seriously and will carefully consider the outcome of the vote as it continues to evaluate and refine our executive compensation program. We expect to report our final voting results on a current report on Form 8-K to be filed with the SEC within 4 business days after the end of this meeting.
Thank you, Nora. With no further business, I hereby adjourn today's meeting. Thank you all for attending.
Goodbye. The conference is now concluded. Thank you for attending. You may now disconnect.